Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you are having an amazing day. Let's get right into the stories. The first one is an entitled People Story. I've lived in my house for over 20 years now. It's a nice little place with a big backyard that I've spent those years cultivating into my own personal sanctuary. A huge part of that backyard oasis were the two big oak trees I had planted back when I first moved in. Those trees meant everything to me. I picked them out myself as tiny saplings and nurtured them into these towering giants that provided ample shade and really just brought my whole yard together. Under those oak trees, I had hammocks, benches, and even an outdoor dining set. They really defined my backyard. I love sitting under their canopy of leaves, reading a book, or having a barbecue with friends. I even strung up a tire swing on one of them for my kids when they were young. Those trees stored so many precious memories, so you can understand why I was absolutely devastated and enraged when I looked out my window one morning to see my neighbor cutting them down, just hacking away at their trunks with a chainsaw without a care in the world. I raced outside in my pajamas, screaming at him to stop. But it was too late. He had already cut them down to just stumps. 20 years of growth and memories were destroyed just like that. When I demanded to know why he would do something so horrific, he just calmly replied it was because their branches hung over onto his yard slightly. He said he had warned me about this before and that I should have trimmed them back, but that was complete bullcrap. He had never said anything, never gave me any kind of warning, and even if he had, cutting them down entirely was a completely psychotic overreaction. I was absolutely seeing red. I couldn't even process coherent thoughts. I could only scream obscenities at him. He didn't seem fazed at all, which made me even angrier. I probably would have actually attacked him if my wife hadn't come out and held me back. I retreated into my house, slammed the door, and paced around in a fury. How could he do this? Who just cuts down someone else's trees without permission? My wife sat me down and calmed me down. She said we needed to handle this rationally and legally. I knew she was right, but I just wanted to throttle the bastard. Over the next few days, I looked up laws about property lines and tree ownership. Turns out he was completely in the wrong. Even if some branches hang over onto your property, you can't just destroy the entire tree without permission. You can sue to have the overhanging branches trimmed back, but that's it. Armed with this knowledge, I sent a letter through my lawyer demanding he pay for the value of the destroyed trees and emotional damages. I included an itemized list adding up to $15,000. He sent a letter back refusing to pay a cent, said he was well within his rights to remove unwanted vegetation from his yard. That tore it. This was now full-on war. I gathered every photo I could find of my beloved trees, documented their age and species, got estimates for their value from arborists. I slapped him with a lawsuit faster than he could blink. In court, I laid out the facts calmly and definitively. 2 oak trees that I planted on my own property and cared for over 20 years. No documented complaints about overhanging branches. No request for me to trim them back. Just took a chainsaw to them without permission. Meanwhile, he was smug and dismissive, said it was an honest mistake and he would do it again. That set the judge against him fast. Destroying someone's property is never a mistake you should repeat. When it came time for the judgment, the court ruled fully in my favor. He was ordered to pay me $20,000 in damages. I also got a restraining order against him so he could never set foot on my property again. It was a huge moral victory, but of course it couldn't bring back my actual trees. Still, I had grand plans to rebuild and restore my sanctuary. I spent that money on the biggest, most elaborate treehouse you've ever seen. It had multiple stories, balconies, even electricity and Wi-Fi run out to it. My kids were grown now, but my grandkids thought it was Disneyland. I made sure to build it right on the edge of my property line, overlooking my neighbor's yard. He had to stare at it every day with kids playing loudly in it. I even hung a giant banner on it facing his house, thanking him for funding it. Petty, maybe, but after what he did, I think I deserved a little pettiness. Besides, building something new and joyful out of his cruelty helped me heal. It let me turn a painful memory into something happy again. After a little more thought, I even had 2 new oak saplings planted right where the old trees used to be. They'll take years to grow back to their former glory, but I'm willing to put in the care and time. Those new baby oaks represent hope. No matter what neighbors may do, I can rebuild and make this yard a beautiful home for new memories. And maybe someday my grandkids will even hang a swing of their own. The next one is a pro-revenge story. This is a funny pro-revenge story about how an old lady screwed her over-entitled children. The actors in this story are Old Lady, owner of the building. She is 80 plus years old and has an apartment in the same building as the pizza place. Pizza owner, owner of the restaurant, and a good friend of OL, super entitled son, SES. Take note, this guy is 50 plus years old and one of the 3 old ladies' sons. They all are entitled and made a huge fuss, but super entitled son was the worst. A bit of background. In my town, there is a famous pizza restaurant. It's in a prime spot and always busy. I have known the pizza owner since I was a kid, and I know he makes tons of money from the restaurant. He has told me that he makes between $2,000 to $1,000 in profits each day. However, he did not own the building and had wanted to do so since he started renting. Old lady always refused to sell, no matter the offer, and trust me, she has received huge offers. The story? This happened over a year. The old lady received an offer from a bank for the building. Everyone in town learned about it because the offer was for over $1 million. This is an incredibly high amount in my country. Of course, the old lady refused to sell. Here come the entitled kids. Apparently, all 3 learned that their mother got this massive offer, and because she is getting old, they wanted her to sell to move her to a retirement home. Since then, they have been insisting on her selling, that it's the best she is going to get, and it would be the best for them to get that much money in their inheritance. Apparently, this pissed off the old lady so much she went behind her children's back and offered to sell the place to pizza owner for a fraction of the bank's offer. From what pizza owner told me, she sold him the building for about $280,000, with a clause that he is not allowed to tear it down while she lives, and that she is allowed to live in her apartment until she dies. Pizza owner agreed to the terms by old lady and bought the place. Old lady made sure to have a doctor and a lawyer check her to make sure they got all the legal stuff indicating she was sane, and what she was doing was of her own will. She was preparing for the crap storm that was coming and covering pizza owner from the wrath of her entitled children. Boy, was she right. A week after the purchase was complete and pizza owner became the sole owner of the building, OL's oldest son showed up to the restaurant in the middle of dinner on a busy Sunday, demanding to speak with PO. According to other people's testimony, he started yelling that pizza owner was a scammer and that he took advantage of an old lady, and he was going to sue for all he had. When pizza owner responded that he bought the place and that SES's mother was the one who offered to sell the place to him, super entitled son stormed to OL's apartment and began yelling at his mother. The other 2 sons were nearby yelling as well, that he was going to take pizza owner to court because he took advantage of an old lady, and she was going to say in court that all was true. He even threatened pizza owner that he was going to kill him for what he did. Someone called the police and they handcuffed SES. This is where it gets better. Old lady told super entitled son and her other 2 sons that they were getting nothing out of her even after her death. She had already donated 80% of all her money to a charity, and whatever she had left when she dies was going to the same charity. Sadly, I was not there, but I would have given anything to see super entitled son and his brother's reactions when she told them to suck it. Old lady is still alive and well. Pizza owner is renovating the place, making it larger and nicer. Super entitled son got a restraining order to be at least 100 meters away from both pizza owner. The next one is a petty revenge story. I have suffered from chronic migraine since I was a kid. Something important for every migraine sufferer to know is their triggers. Triggers are the things in your life that are most likely to start a migraine. For some, it may be extreme heat. For others, it's stress, and for me, it's salt. I can't have a lot, and if I do, a migraine will start almost right away. Due to this, I can only have Chinese food every once in a while, and I have to be very careful to read labels for sodium content. Migraines hurt like a mofo, but can also send me to the ER, which is expensive. My ex-mother-in-law, I'll call her Karen, loved to cook and added too much salt to everything. It didn't take me long to notice that right after eating a meal prepared by her, my head would start beating like a drum. We had dinner with them every Sunday, so my ex went to Karen, explained my situation, and asked her to tone down the salt. Karen was not happy. She thought changing the ingredients of her food would alter the taste too much. She agreed to cut back, but the very next time we had dinner with them, I went home feeling like my head was going to explode, and I knew she hadn't. My wife asked her about it later, and Karen said she'd originally cut the salt, but after tasting it, she decided it wasn't flavorful enough and added it back in. She told my wife she wouldn't sacrifice flavor for me, so that's the last time we had Sunday dinner there. Months later, we had to go there for a birthday party. We arrived early, hours from dinner, so Karen hadn't yet started cooking. I was in the kitchen getting a beverage and saw her precious salt shaker sitting on the counter. I picked it up, went into the pantry, and hid it behind some boxes of cereal. While there, I saw the round refill container, grabbed that, and hid it too. Hours later, Karen is cooking, and we hear a commotion. She's upset she can't find her salt shaker. She goes into the pantry, complaining that she also can't find the large container. My wife and I were sitting outside acting like nothing was out of the ordinary. She ended up cooking all the dishes without salt and complained the whole time about how terrible everything tasted. Karen was in a very bad mood as everyone dished up. It wasn't long before they started complimenting her on the food. People were saying it was some of the best she'd ever made, and from her face, you could see she was shocked to hear that. Several people said to her, "This is great. Did you tone down the salt? You use a lot, you know. This tastes like you used the perfect amount." To which Karen hissed, "It has no salt because I can't find my shakers." Nobody else was bothered by this. They just nodded and agreed it was amazing. The more they complimented her, the more upset she got. For some reason, she never thought to ask anyone if they had purposely taken them. We ate and then got up to leave not long afterward. On our way out, we went by the kitchen to take some leftovers home. While there, I pulled the salt shaker and container out, put them in our bag, took them home, and trashed them. It was the first time I had eaten a meal with that family and not gone home with a migraine. The next one is a malicious compliance story. I am a tax preparer, and we all know about tax season. Usually we have to work 55, 60 hours a week, which is pretty standard. But this year, the company decided to reduce it to 50 hours in an attempt to promote better work-life balance. Realistically speaking, there was no way this was going to work out because outside of my local office, the other offices in the company notoriously struggled to get their tax returns done on time with 55, 60 hours a week. They also had increased our yearly charge hour goals, which I thought was pretty counterintuitive. Either way, I decided to say screw it, I'll just do the 50 hours, because I'll take the extra time, sure. That adventure died quickly because my manager just started burying me in projects. For some background on my manager, he sucked at his job. He constantly contradicts himself, throws others under the bus, and hounds you about being efficient and getting his projects done, but then waits forever to get them reviewed. He also has no problem bossing people around and being condescending, but the moment someone with an ounce of authority pushes down on him, he instantly folds and bends to their will like a dog after its owner tells it to roll, even if they have no idea what they're talking about. So as I'm working on all of these projects he buried me in, I soon realized that 50 hours are not going to allow me to get all this done. It's definitely not that I was taking too long to do them. I am confident that my track record at that company shows that I got stuff done and pushed out in a timely manner. But between the budgeted hours that these projects had as a whole, the 50 hours, and the line of other projects I had from other people, yeah, fat chance I was going to make it. So I decide, screw it. I'll just do 55, 60. Because I'm a team player, I did like working at that place. I figured I'd get ahead of the company's lovely charge hour goal and brownie points couldn't hurt. Then my manager comes into play again. He asks me if I can hop on a call, and that's where it begins. He asks me about my time card because even though my requirement is 50 hours, I still book the 55, 60 because I ain't working for free. I find out that in a meeting, a partner from another office looked at my time card and started questioning it, then proceeded to start saying all kinds of things about me and accusing me of stuff. I apparently now had a nickname among him and that group as the 60-hour man. My manager rips me a new one because I'm working too much and that I don't have to do that. And yes, I didn't have to do that, but it was my choice that I was okay with making. I then realized that my manager was also on the call and listening to this partner say all this stuff about me, but he didn't stick up for me. And knowing damn well how much he put on my plate, he seemed to have agreed with this guy who has no idea what's going on. I felt extremely backstabbed by this, but I decided, okay, fine, I won't work too much. So I went back down to 50 hours again. I'll take the extra time. As a result, he got antsy about some of the projects because they weren't getting done yet. I couldn't have gotten to them within the 50 hours I had each week, so they'd keep needing to get pushed out. This led to some of the projects not getting done by the tax deadline, so we had to extend, and he wasn't happy about it. He believes that they could have gotten done, and yeah, they could have. That extra 5-10 hours a week I was originally putting in would have allowed me to get them done. All my manager had to do was keep his mouth shut or utter a thank you. I left that company at the end of July and left him with the rest of his projects that he dumped on me throughout that month. I wished him well, but I hope to never work under him again. The next one is an entitled people story. First-time poster here, and I'm still in awe of the audacity of some people. I've read about entitled people, but outside of my school, I've never been in contact with any of them long enough to deal with them. That was until recently. Also, forgive me for any grammatical errors as I am writing on my tablet. I, 33M, am an ELA teacher based in China for the last 3.5 years. First, a little bit of information before I get to the story. There is a bit of a pay gap between foreign and Chinese teachers. It's also a well-known fact, but only the most opportunistic ones like to capitalize on it from time to time, if you're not careful. It can be anything from charging more at stands to, on the rarest of rare occasions, guilting them into complying. Trust me, it has happened, and those select few are not apologetic about it. Now, on to the story. It was Chinese New Year, and I was on the train to Chongqing to visit a friend. I don't like flying, and I really like trains. I had my Samsung Tab S8 Plus, and I was watching Final Fantasy VII Advent Children with my Bluetooth. Suddenly, I felt something nudging against me. I looked to see a kid, maybe in elementary school, trying to look at the movie, so I turned off my Bluetooth and turned the tablet on to him so he could watch. Sounds weird, but being a teacher here, you get used to it. Anyway, he was really immersed, and though I couldn't understand him, I could tell that he was enjoying it a lot. He was trying to talk to me, but his English wasn't so good, and my Chinese was worse, so he opted for "I like this," "so cool," "me too," and things like that. Very basic English. He was a sweet kid, and he got to watch the whole thing before our stop. He even said Chongqing, and I said me too. He waved goodbye and ran back to his mom, and I began to pack my things so I could get off. Then it happened. A woman approached me with the kid and in perfect English demanded my tablet. She literally said, "Give me your tablet." I thought I was in the Twilight Zone and wanted to ensure I heard her correctly. "Excuse me? Give me your tablet. I want my son to have it." I refused, a simple no, and she said those magic words that I'd begun hating to hear. "But you're a foreigner. You can just buy another one." Now, a couple of things. One, I don't know if the kid really wanted my tablet or not, and frankly, I didn't care. Two, I come from a family that has taught me to never let anyone make you feel less than others. If someone tries to take my dignity, it's not going to end well for that person. And no, I don't actually have to fight to get my point across. Fair warning, I'm paraphrasing the confrontation because it lasted a lot longer than I cared for. I said, "No, I can't. I had to save to buy this. You can do the same." "No, you can give yours and stop being selfish." Again, I countered, "Or you can stop being an entitled person and buy your own." It was my first time seeing a shocked Pikachu face, and to rub salt in the wound, I added, "Shoo, shoo." She did go away, only to come back with the police. That I should have seen coming, but I didn't because I was focused on getting off the train. Lucky for me, he also spoke English fluently. He was also really polite and obviously not in the mood for any of it. "Sir, this woman says you stole her tablet." I saw the woman behind him with a triumphant smirk while speaking Chinese. I let out a sigh. I had already wasted enough time on this nonsense. So I did what I always did when I wanted to get my point across in the quickest way possible. I turned cold. In fact, my students refer to it as me turning into Bing Laoshi, ice teacher. I looked at the police officer and said, "I'll make a deal with you. I'm going to use my fingerprint to unlock this tablet. If it doesn't work, she can have it. If it does work, I get to bash her face in." That woman's Pikachu face came back so fast that the officer even had a shocked look. He asked me if I was serious, and I said, "Definitely." I guess the woman saw my face and tried to backpedal, but I wasn't going to let her go until I made my point. When she tried to leave, I said, "Where are you going? I thought you said this was yours." The woman looked to the police for help, but as I said, he was not in the mood and just spoke to her in Chinese. She said something in Chinese to the man, only for the man to give a short reply. I guess he wasn't going to entertain this and make sure I didn't hit her. "How dare you? You had the nerve to try to take something that's mine because I'm a foreigner. You're disgusting. You should be ashamed of yourself." The woman had a mixture of fear, shock, and anger on her face when I finally asked, "Is this your tablet?" When the woman said no, I leaned my head towards her and barked, "What was that?" She finally said that the tablet was mine before taking her kid and leaving. The kid did wave goodbye to me despite his mother's objections, and I smiled and waved back. The officer asked me if I was serious about hurting her, and I told him the truth. I wouldn't have hit a woman over an object. He laughed and wished me a happy Chinese New Year. I told my friend about this, and we had a good laugh. Thank you for watching. I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We'll see you again tomorrow.